begin. And as we begin, I would like to recognize who our candidates are here today. We have Isaiah Gishanga, who will be vying for the post of treasurer. And we're also joined by Dr. Roslyn Marando, who will be vying for the post of vice chairperson. And we're also joined by Mr. Felix Magaju, who will also be vying for the position of vice chairman as well, vice chairperson as well. And he had requested that we give him the chance to go first, since he has to join another meeting later on. And I'd like to welcome Felix Magaju. Felix, if you can hear me.
Yes, thanks. Apologies for logging in it under small hiccup. So I think we can start, and thank you very much, ASSEK members. My name is Felix Magaju. So my name is Felix Magaju Julius, and I work with Kenya Climate Innovation Center as the director in charge of enterprise development. So ladies and gentlemen and esteemed members of ASSEK, it's with great humility and enthusiasm that I stand before you today as a candidate for the position of Vice Chairperson of ASSEK. As mentioned, I'm Felix, currently serving as Director of Enterprise Support and Investment at KCICE, and I'm here to share with you my vision and commitment to advancing the interest of a vibrant startup and SME ecosystem in the country. ASSEK, as we know, plays a very critical role in shaping the landscape for startups and SMEs in the country. It's not just an association, it is the heartbeat of innovation and entrepreneurship in our country. Together, we have the power to drive economic growth, create jobs, and foster sustainable development for our communities. As I throw my heart in the ring to serve in the ASSEK, in the esteemed ASSEK board today, I present to you a manifesto centered around 3 pillars. Number 1, enhanced knowledge sharing and thought leadership. Second, strategic collaborations and partnership building. And finally, on resource mobilization and sustainability for the ASSEK community. First is the need to have an enhanced, enhanced knowledge sharing and thought leadership, we must break down the barriers of silo mentality as an ecosystem and foster a culture of collaboration and knowledge exchange among our members. By pooling our expertise and experiences, we can elevate the entire SME and the startup ecosystem in the country. ASSEK should not only be a platform for networking, but also a beacon of thought leadership, guiding our members in navigating through the complex challenges and opportunities of entrepreneurship that we encounter every day. Closely aligned to this is the critical need for strategic collaborations and partnerships building in the ecosystem. Alone, we can achieve much, but together, we can achieve much more greatness. I envision ASSEK as a catalyst for strategic collaborations and partnerships, both locally, regionally, and internationally. By forging strategic alliances with government agencies, corporations, and other stakeholders, we can amplify our impact and unlock new opportunities for startup growth, for opportunities for growth and innovations in the country. Together, we can build an ecosystem where startups and SMEs thrive and flourish. My third pillar of focus is resource mobilization and sustainability for ASSEK and its members, or our members. To fulfill our mission and objectives, we need adequate resources and sustainable funding mechanisms. I propose the establishment of an ecosystem fund for ASSEK, and driving our initiatives, to drive our initiatives forward. This fund is not only to provide financial assistance, but also to ensure the long-term sustainability and resilience of our organization. With the right resources at our disposal, there is no limit to what we can be able to achieve together. This dream will require aggressive but targeted fundraising and resource mobilization initiatives, which I believe I've been able to acquire for a number of years, working with not only with KCIC, but also in other portfolios I've been able to hold. It will take a lot to accomplish, but I know with membership, with all our members at ASSEK, there's no dream behold our reach. Ladies and gentlemen, as I stand before you today, vying for the position of Vice Chairperson of our esteemed organization or association, I bring with me not just a vision, but a track record of tangible impact and transformative change. My journey with KCAC has been a testament to the power of collaboration, innovation, and sustainable development the last 10 years. It's good to know that the last 10 years, KCAC, together we have been able to fundraise for more than $60 million to support over 3,500 enterprises in the country. My journey with KCAC has been a testament to the power of collaboration, innovation, and sustainable development. Through KCAC initiatives, we have witnessed firsthand the incredible potential of startups and SMEs to drive positive change in our society. At KCAC, as I mentioned, we have supported over 3,500 enterprises the last 10, 11 years and created over 57,000 jobs and mitigated over 500,000 tons of carbon emissions the last 10, 11 years. These achievements are not merely numbers. They represent real lives impacted impacted and ecosystems that, preserved. Our work is in fostering innovation in agribusiness, waste management, renewable energy, water, and commercial forestry has not only strengthened Kenya's resilience to climate change, but also laid the foundation for a more sustainable and prosperous future for women, youth of this country, and also men alike. The success of KCAC is a testament to what can be achieved when organizations come together with a shared vision and purpose. It is a model of collaboration and partnership that I believe ASSEK can emulate and build upon. By leveraging our collective expertise, resources, and networks, we can create a thriving ecosystem where startups and SMEs not only survive, but also thrive. Together, we can unlock new opportunities, we can catalyze the ecosystem and growth, and drive sustainable development, not only in Kenya, but also across the region. As the Vice Chairperson of ASSEK, I am committed to harnessing the lessons learned from my previous experience, not only working for KCAC, and also other stakeholders, to propel our association to greater heights the next couple of years. I envision ASSEK as not just a platform for networking and advocacy, but also as a catalyst for change and innovation. Together, we can build a future where every entrepreneur has the support, resources, and opportunities they need to succeed. With your support, ladies and gentlemen, I am confident that you can be able to make this vision a reality. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much, Phoenix, and I know everybody here is giving you a hand, and it's good to hear the great plans that you have for the association in the coming days, should you be elected. And at this juncture, you can field questions from the participants. Feel free to put up your questions in the chat to any of the candidates. Other than that, I would like to welcome Dr. Roslyn right now to also take the stage. Dr. Roslyn, karibu.
Thank you very, very much indeed. A warm good afternoon to each and every one of you esteemed members of the Association of Startup and SME Enablers in Kenya, ASSEK. And I want to salute my friend in the ecosystem, Felix Magaju. That is indeed a great honor for us to both be vying for a very, very important role. My name, as you have had mentioned, is Rosie Marandu Kirithi. I'm country lead Kenya of the Alan and Jill Gray Philanthropies, and I'm also the stakeholder management lead for East Africa. I am passionate about young people flourishing, including young people in entrepreneurship. And that is why my work in this space and my vying for this position is so that we can jointly work together to indeed, as organizations, do much, much more in terms of enabling young startups and young ventures to flourish in the ecosystem. What is my background? My background is in development management. Therein, I have emerged not only as a practitioner, but as a specialist. And I'm a specialist in assisting individuals, assisting organizations, assisting communities to flourish. We ask the question in development management, what is our external social goal and what can we do better to ensure that indeed those goals, those promises to communities are indeed achieved. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our golden moment to make significant change in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. Now, 6 years ago, I was a professional in the public health space. And had you asked me about entrepreneurship, I definitely would have pointed you in the direction of a senior at high school, and her name is Shiro Waweru. She's a self-proclaimed carpenter and an amazing, flourishing entrepreneur, CEO and founder of Fun Kids. Or I would have pointed you in the direction of Jaram, who is the godfather of entrepreneurship in Kenya. And many of us know about the amazing work he has done through Sandbox. But here I am today, interestingly enough, aspiring to be a vice chair for one of Kenya's largest bodies of entrepreneurship support organizations. So what is it in my background then? And what is it in my personal development in the last couple of years that have inspired me and given me the courage to ask for your nomination as a vice chair for this esteemed organization? First, I must say, I felt honored to individually be requested by a number of members of ASSEK to perhaps vie for this position and see to what extent I can contribute to ASSEK moving forward. Secondly, as a specialist in results-based management, I'm excited to contribute to ASSEK goals. And ASSEK stands in that unique position to shape, to support, and to strengthen entrepreneurship support organizations. What we're doing as entrepreneurship support organizations is not easy. And for us then to be a member of an umbrella organization, a member of ASSEK, and ASSEK to have within itself that mandate to support us, to strengthen us as CSOs in this journey as we support entrepreneurs who are bold enough to undertake a very interesting journey is great. It's great that as we support others, we have this entity support us. And when you look at the key pillars of ASSEK, it's very interesting because it talk about capacity enhancement. In ASSEK, we talk about policy influencing, empowerment, collaboration, and working outside our borders, going into the international space. So looking at what ASSEK is focused on, I'm particularly excited by the idea that I can contribute to policy influencing, amplifying that voice in creating a more conducive environment. Firstly, for CSOs in the ecosystem to flourish, for ventures that are created through our varied entrepreneurship support organizations to flourish, and most importantly, thereon, to see the knock-off effect in those ventures, in the entrepreneurs, creating jobs and creating meaningful improvement in lives in our country, in our region, and in our continent. I'm also excited at the possibilities and the policy influencing to be called to the table, to engage with government and other stakeholders, to ask ourselves, what is it about Kenya that needs to be improved so that our environment can be more conducive? Recent research has shown that there are a large number of ventures in Kenya. And in fact, it said that the amount of funding that those ventures have obtained is over $800 million. The question is, do we feel that funding in Kenya? Does Kenya's economy reflect that source of, or that level of funding? And we all know in this room the answer is no. And it's mainly because ventures are registered elsewhere. And we in Kenya then become a market. So what can we then do to make sure that ventures are grown in Kenya and ventures are indeed registered ventures, and that the funding that those ventures will get both nationally, and let me repeat that, both nationally and internationally, indeed are felt within the country of Kenya. I'm excited at the possibilities of that. I'm excited at the possibilities of creating a more conducive environment for angels and venture capitalists that are homegrown to grow here. I shiver at the idea that we will have more international venture capitalists, capital funding, investing in ventures that are conceptualized on our country, in our continent, but eventually will be more foreign owned than locally owned. Our children will hold us accountable. I am excited by the idea of taking that baton as a vice chair to make sure that indeed we change that particular flow of things so that our children and our children's children can be excited. There's another pillar in ASSEK that I'm completely sold for, and hence my vying for this position, which is the pillar of collaboration. That pillar talks volumes, but let me narrow down to a few. The idea that we can bring our synergistic energies together and we can complement each other, and therefore we can catalyze the ecosystem to grow. I was recently in an ASSEK CEO and Founders Forum, and the energy and the ideas that came out just from one deliberation was very, very stimulating. Can you imagine if we are to do that on an ongoing basis, so that indeed we can continue to make significant contributions to the ecosystem? I'm also excited by that coordination of strategic efforts within our country and also international stakeholders who come into the space. They come into the space to find out what should we be focused on. They come into the space to find out what they should invest in. And I'm excited by the possibilities of indeed joining that conversation to ensure that indeed the right thing for our country for the future is focused on. And indeed, whatever resources we get jointly are well managed, and we're able to enhance our results-based management and our results-based reporting to our partners within the country, within the continent, and beyond. I'm also very, very excited by the platform that ASSEK shares to all of us in terms of our ability to share good practices. What models are working? Which ones are not? And therefore we learn together what we should not continue to do. What does the future demand? What are the futuristic industries? And how best can we prepare ventures? Can we prepare entrepreneurs? Can we prepare young people for the future in their endeavors to create their ventures, create jobs, and improve livelihoods? And I'm also excited by participating in signaling, utilizing data for decision-making in understanding the gaps in the economy, in the ecosystem, and be able to contribute to the conversation using data in terms of areas we should be focusing on growth. Secondly, I'd like to put it, or thirdly, I'd like to put it across to you that for over 5.5 years, I have been in the space of entrepreneurship, as I mentioned, with the Alan and Jill Gray Philanthropy, started off by scoping and understanding the landscape. We then went on and formulated and developed 2 amazing interventions in Eastern Africa. One is known as Jasiri. Jasiri is a Swahili word for brave. And if we call upon young, inspiring entrepreneurs to come into our program for us to build their capacity. Did I hear a voice? Should I continue? Okay, I'll champion on. I will jump in on, Chair. And in Jasiri, we have over the last couple of years, so since 2020, incubated over 140 fellows, and they have created 61 new startups that would otherwise have not existed in the ecosystem, and they span over 24 different industries. To date, 59 of those startups are flourishing, and we're looking forward to increasing the numbers that we continue to support in future. There are over 610 jobs created and over 3,000 lives meaningfully impacted. We're also having a program that we call Wavumbuzi, another Swahili word that means explore. And this particular intervention is to assist our future pipeline building program. So we are stimulating high school learners to be problem solvers and value creators, working closely with the Ministry of Education. We are scaling and we're going out to all 47 countries. So ladies and gentlemen, you can see that I come with experience, not only in development management, not only in entrepreneurship, but I also bring with me the backup of a very, very strong organization in the Eastern Africa ecosystem. We're strong about ecosystem building, and we're strong about ecosystem collaboration. In that particular note, I'm very excited to tell you that one of the key things that we're focusing on going forward, which ASSEK will benefit from, is that we have developed ecosystem diagnostics tools. We have tools that can assist ASSEK and the members to do a venture assessment. We also have a tool that will assist in the assessment of entrepreneurship support organizations. And we know that with more data, we're able to make great decisions, intelligent decisions, the right decisions. We also, as Jasiri and in Wavumbuzi, we're very, very interested in joining ASSEK in curating roundtables. And one of those roundtables is indeed to have donors, to have partners who can walk the journey with us and indeed create resources to enhance our work and enhance the work of others. We also want to contribute in giving out intelligence that signals what are the gaps in the economy. Kenya is known for its innovation. Kenya is known that a large number of ventures that are operating in Kenya are getting funding, albeit research shows, as I've mentioned earlier, that funding is not coming into the country. But when you do a more deep dive analysis, we're finding that we are limping when it comes to indeed creating talent, a talent pool that can span all the aspects that new ventures require. So we, as Jasiri, would like to share more in terms of the insights that we have so that more organizations can know where to focus on. So what am I saying to you today? Kindly think and consider seriously of voting for me as your vice chair. I will take the opportunity to utilize whatever personal knowledge and skills I have, whatever official opportunities I have, and the network I have to further the performance and the positioning of ASSEK to be a strong umbrella body in Kenya's ecosystem. With that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rose, and for that very eloquent presentation, and wish you all the best. We continue to take questions. If you have questions for any of the candidates, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and if you'd like to ask it directly, you can raise a hand. And right now, I would like to move on to our next candidate, Isaiah Bishana, who will be vying for the position of treasurer in the upcoming election. Isaiah Bishana, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon.
Good
Let me
afternoon.
just, yeah, so it's amazing to come after the wonderful speakers who have been with us. and I must admit I've really enjoyed it. But now let me go to myself. I'm CPA Isaiah Gichana, working currently with the Africa Bioenergy Programs Limited, where we support over 100 entrepreneurs, specifically in the renewable energy sector. But more than that, we are also now moving into CPOs, that's a community-based. And the whole logic around that is one. If a country has to change, if you look at the developed economies, most of them have actually been able to move because of the strength of entrepreneurship. But now, when you look at the strength of entrepreneurship, you realize that there are weaknesses at that low level. Now, when we have the ecosystem that's plugging into that level, so that now they can be able to sustain themselves and be able to grow, then that really explains where my passion has come from. And for that, I hope you'll allow me to share something that shows what my feelings are about what we want to be able to achieve. Now, having been in the sector for some time now, also having been serving as treasurer for some time now, quite not a very long time, but a very short period, what are still my focus areas? Because for me, I feel there's still energy left in me that I could want to contribute and cause impact among the areas in which we are working with. So in that respect, I've looked at a number of areas that I feel could be ideal for me and also the team that I will be working with, God willing, that we should be able to focus to be able to create that kind of environment that could then enable progress to appear. One is the financial integrity. Now, my previous speakers have actually elaborated the kind of good things that we want ASSEK to achieve, even as it grows. Now, the whole thing about it is that the finance then looks at the risk, the reputation. How do we ensure that even as we are having that growth, the processes are working well, the systems are working well, and our reputation is intact? That's why one of my key focus areas would be that ensuring there's continued integrity of the numbers that we bring and also of the resources that we access to, so that we're able to ensure that all the pillars are actually being able to be achievable. The other thing that I will be keen to look at is how do we then promote access to finance for ASSEK member organizations? Now, as much as we are looking for finances for the entrepreneurs, the accelerators, the innovators also need resources to strengthen their systems, to use data, to be able to get proper skills and all that. So how do we ensure that the ecosystem we are building is strong enough so that now there is that element of sustainability in the long run? And that means then that now the resources that we get, the resources that we want to attract, then should be able not only to go to the entrepreneurs, but should be able to be tapped by the ecosystem, by our partners, the members of ASSEK should be able to get a portion of that, so that now they are also able to self-develop. And in that case, if our membership, that's accelerators, the entrepreneurs who are members, the incubators who are members, if they are stronger, then it actually means that the whole ASSEK would be stronger. And then in that case, we could be looking at, are we now able to join the ranks of CAM, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, to be able to advocate for the rights of our partners, our members? So that's really the focus that I have, that if we can work with all the partners that we have, we can work with the team that is there, the board and the secretariat, then if we're able to ensure that we have mechanisms that can be able to allow resources, that can be able to promote resources to member organizations, that could be something that could be a good sign of growth. The other thing that I'm also focusing on is that how do we open our business opportunities? Because the resources, the knowledge that we are getting, the skills that we are getting are with the members. How do we ensure that there's that cooperation among the members? And also in terms of the opportunities that we are looking at internationally, how are we able to ensure that our members are actually able to offer services outside Kenya, so that now, as we said, as they grow and become stronger and stronger, then the whole ASSEK becomes stronger, and then now we're able to move beyond our borders and able to have a greater impact in the society and also in the world. Then finally, in terms of policy, I know for some time, we have also been engaged in terms of trying to see how do we understand or educate our members in terms of the tax changes that are there, because taxes have a huge impact over our members. Now, if we are working with entrepreneurs, it means there will be revenues, there will be resources coming onto the members. How do we ensure that there's proper planning in terms of ensuring that they're not paying an unfair amount of tax? How do we ensure that the policies that work around the tax environment and also creating that environment that can be good for growth is there? And that means that the legal environment, the tax regime that is there, is something that we have to be keenly be looking at and be willing to engage the government and other stakeholders to ensure that our members and by extension the entrepreneurs are having a good regime that is favorable for development. Now, if we look at those four items for focus areas, then if we're able to achieve that, then we are actually ending up in creating an enabling environment so that now when we are looking at growth of our members, growth of the entrepreneurs, and by extension, having a brand that is ASSEK, then it will also be able to grow. So mine is to ensure that as I'm engaged in the board, then these four areas are not left behind. We could be able to focus, we could be able to make strategies around that. We look at the strategic plan, we should be able to have something like that. If we are looking at the resources, we are looking at the partnerships, we are looking at those partnerships with that mind, ensuring that we are going to achieve this. And if we are able to achieve all these things, then that will be growth. So if we look at it in 2-3 years' time, I could want to be known that somebody contributed to that growth, that stability in terms of the financial integrity, in terms of the promoting access, in terms of opening up business opportunities, and in terms of creating an enabling environment, the tax and other areas. That's really what my view is. So my message is that I don't want to be that CPA sitting at the corner and waiting to submit reports, but I want to be that active member that is going to contribute more than the numbers, but also interpreting those numbers. And also, given my experience, I've been able to work quite a lot with entrepreneurs of various levels and the various sectors, and also with various ecosystem builders. And so it's really been a very exciting journey, and my own passion for entrepreneurs in the renewable sector, and also waste management or carbon emission, those textile industries. So looking at those areas, how do we ensure that the flow of cash, the flow of resources, and the stability of the partners that we work with, the members that we work with, is there for them to be able to deliver? Because ASSEK will exist and give value if we are enabling our members to grow. And that's what I want to be able to be known for and to achieve if given this opportunity to continue that work. So being an accountant, I hope you'll allow me not to continue so much because we are not given to words. So thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much, Isaiah, for that very good presentation. We appreciate and also wish you the best. And we can now jump right into the questions. And I can already see they are coming in. And we have one question directed to Felix Wagaju. And Felix, the question is, you have mentioned resource mobilization and sustainability of ASSEK as one of your key pillars. Why do you think this is important? What is the current gap? This is a question coming from Elizabeth Odiva.
So thank you very much, Elizabeth, and the ASSEK community. Well, number one is all the things that my colleagues have mentioned, we cannot be able to do them or execute them without resources. And for me, where I come from, when I look at the aspect of resourcing ASSEK, ASSEK needs spine to, the ASSEK requires, to have a balance of resources. Number one, to be able to put programmings that enhance the capacities of its members, and also support them to be able to create sustainable partnerships, across the ecosystem that can be able to support all the incubators and accelerators and other actors within ASSEK to really do their programming without necessarily asking where can we be able to get the next $1 million. So what is happening today is most of us, including KCAC, we are always on a frequency of fundraising, and that does not leave ASSEK behind. ASSEK is a very young organization, 5 years old, and perhaps it's 1 or 2 donors who are supporting them today. What about if at all ASSEK and $5 million worthy of capitalization to be able to roll out very, very impact generating programs for its members and also become a voice to the government? The other day we were just talking about, I think, in the WhatsApp group in terms of why can't ASSEK members be given so many billions of money by government, to be able to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the country, but that amount of money perhaps is going to some perhaps dubious, BDS service providers who have no clue about the startup ecosystem in the country. And so for me, the issue here is ASSEK requires money. ASSEK requires resources to be able to become a spine in the ecosystem, become a voice in the ecosystem, and ensure that all the actors, they are aligned, and number 2, support them on resource mobilization and sustainability initiatives to ensure that we have continued to catalyze the ecosystem in the country. So for me, it's very critical for ASSEK to have money. We should be talking about, ASSEK having $5 million, $2 million. If, for example, there is a training or touching on anything, perhaps they can take their people to coast or take them whatever, just to be able to really enhance their capacities in various sectors of the economy. So for me, having money is very, very critical for ASSEK in terms of programming, in terms of even SME support, and also in terms of ensuring that the members have been enhanced their capacities in various aspects. I mean, the current gap is quite heavy because most actors in this ecosystem, most members of ASSEK, including KCIC, I mean, the capacity is there, but we cannot be able to do much more of what we carry in terms of potential because we have a limitation in terms of financing. So I don't think there's any ASSEK member today who can say that, I am fully funded, I'm okay the next 5 years. So the gap is continuing to increase because we have more emerging needs coming in, more innovations are coming up, more startups are coming up. So there is a very acute need presently to be able to resource ASSEK to become a voice in the ecosystem and also to ensure that everything that is done in the ecosystem is above board. So the need for resource cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix, for that perspective. And one thing I'd like to really hear is also the perspective of the other candidates. And I'd like to hear this question to Dr. Roslyn as well, to hear her perspective and her opinions around this particular question of resource mobilization and what she thinks the gap is.
Right, thank you very much indeed for having me address the question as well. Completely agree with what Bwana Felix has shared here. No man is an island, no man stands alone. And in our not standing alone, we need to ensure that we are surrounded with the resources that we need. ASSEK as an umbrella organization, having taken up that bold mandate to take care of us as entrepreneurship support organizations, cannot jump high if its resources are not at a high level. Remember when we were in school and we had this particular analogy, and they would put a grasshopper within a bottle, and after a little while, that grasshopper could only jump as high as the length of that bottle. We want ASSEK, the ASSEK that was conceptualized by the founders of ASSEK, to continue to jump as high as it wants to, as high as it's able to. And in doing that, resources, and resources come in different shapes and forms. Resources are important for ASSEK to have. So we do need to go back. I do not, to the question that was asked, I do not have the figures for you here on what the funding gap is, the resource gap is for ASSEK. But for any organization to thrive and for that organization to serve us and for us to feel that that organization is effective in its work, indeed, it has to have a very high bar that it is operating in. The money in the bank is important. The technical expertise to run an umbrella organization is important. the technical expertise to be able to influence policy in an economy such as ours in Kenya is important, and so on and so forth. There are different aspects, different buckets of expertise that ASSEK requires, may have now, and definitely will continue to have in the future, be it financial, legal, and so on and so forth. I feel that we are stronger together if we sit with ASSEK and indeed strategize into who has those resources and call them to the table, invite them to be our friends, and invite them thereafter to collaborate with us closely. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rose, for your sentiments. And before we take another question from Elizabeth, I'd like to also call upon Isaiah to give his comments on the same.
Yeah, just to mention, true resource mobilization is very critical for growth. But then I could also want us to ask ourselves 3 questions that I feel anchors our pillar in terms of resource mobilization. One is, what value are we giving to our members, to entrepreneurs, and the country? If we are defining and refining that kind of value, then we are good to go. But then even after creating that value, then we must also continuously ask ourselves, what do we stand for? So that we gain that consistency even as we grow, we build that track record. So, once we do that, the next thing that we must be able to continuously ask and work on is, what kind of partnerships do we require? What kind of ratios must we be able to build so that now we are able to work with the development partners, with other investors? So even as we do that, and we have asked ourselves those questions, and we are focused on ensuring that there's a value in what we are giving to all the ecosystem. If there's really defined value, that we continue to give, and we continue to make it even better. And if we are able to stand by what we believe, or by what we have to known for, meaning that we could actually be shifting, moving towards a Kaizen methodology, that we're completely always wanting to improve and become better and better in what we are doing, and then creating those relationships. I think it could be a good recipe for us to be able to mobilize resources with easy. So it's a goal, it's an objective that we have to really observe, but also realize that we cannot work alone. We have to work with all like-minded people to be able to drive that vehicle forward. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Isaiah. And I really hope that, first of all, Elizabeth's question has been answered, and also that we've also learned much more within that particular question than we had even anticipated. And right now, I'd like to ask Elizabeth to come on and ask the next question.
Thank you so much. And yes, my previous question has been answered comprehensively. And I have 2 additional questions, one for Roslyn and one for Felix Magaju. I'll start with Roslyn's question. So Roslyn, you've mentioned about the strategies you have, but my follow-up question is this: what is the one thing you believe that ASSEK needs to do in order to live up to its full potential? So mention one thing you feel ASSEK need to do so as to live to its full potential. And then my question that is directed to Felix is, for a long time, I think in the ecosystem, knowledge sharing among the industry players, that is for the organizations that are supporting entrepreneurs, has been quite a challenge. So you might find an organization is supporting entrepreneurs, but whatever they do is not known, maybe with another organization. And so you find a lot of duplication that is going on around. So how do you hope to solve this challenge? So that is to Felix. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We can start with Dr. Rose. What is that one thing?
Right. Thank you very, very much indeed, Elizabeth, for the question. You know, it is said that in an ecosystem, an ecosystem flourishes when there is interaction with the different members of that ecosystem. And that ecosystem has the different parts, knowing what their unique contribution is, and knowing that whilst they may look similar, that without them, that ecosystem would not be very, very good. I see ASSEK as having put up its hand to create a conducive ecosystem in Kenya. Particularly, they've put up their hand to support entrepreneurship, support organizations, to build them, to nurture them, to grow them. And so what is that one thing that I think ASSEK should continue to do so that it lives to its full potential, is to remember that particular bold move they made many years ago, or was it just recently, according to some, and they said, we will be that umbrella organization that will support entrepreneurship, support organizations. We're doing a difficult job, but we're going to be there for them. If we know that ASSEK is a place that we as ESOs can go to and debrief. ASSEK is a place that we can go to as ESOs and expand. ASSEK is a place that we can go to as ESOs and realize how we fit in this big pizza, this big pie. That ASSEK is the place that we can go to as ESOs. And we're told, whilst in the past, this is what you did. That is what the future is signaling, and therefore consider to go that way. If we can know as ESOs that ASSEK is indeed one of the first entities that the government, that the president of this nation would think about when they're thinking about SMEs and startups, then ASSEK will really have lived to its full potential. Thank you so much for your question, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rose, and very well put. Indeed, the association is an association of bold ESOs that have really been resilient over the years to support entrepreneurs. We can now move next to Felix. Felix, the stage is yours.
So thank you very much, Dr. for that elaborate answer. I think back to Elizabeth's question, I would like to look at it from when I mean the three key pillars I talked about in terms of enhanced knowledge sharing and thought leadership, in ASSEK, and number two was about strategic collaborations and partnership building. Now the question is, how do we enhance that? I mean, and just to give you an example, members, all of us, we have one key goal, and that goal is to support the enterprise ecosystem in this country by incubating, accelerating, and financing entrepreneurs in the country. Now, presumably, we are more than 100, incubators and accelerators in the country today. You find quite a number of times one entrepreneur is able to get into 5, 6, 7 incubators. And then someone perhaps would ask, why would someone perhaps go to Growth Africa and go to KCAC and go to IFY and go to Jasiri? Perhaps the training could be the same in terms of what value we are giving to those entrepreneurs. And that takes me back to one question in terms, most entrepreneurs, apart from training, they are looking for finance. And so their quest to be able to get finance makes them to opt from one accelerator to another accelerator. And so for me, the reason as to why I thought we need to enhance knowledge sharing, is because people and organizations speaking together, then we can be able to compare notes and ask ourselves, what is it that is missing in this ecosystem that perhaps KCAC can be able to bring on board, Jasiri can be able to bring on board, to ensure that all the members are able to tap into those resources and get a couple of things moving for themselves and for the entrepreneurs they are supporting. And so for me, it's operating inside us. I think we have done that one for so many years. And all of us can be able to see the kind of resources or the kind of results that we have been able to get. And the question I've always asked myself, if, for example, KCAC is doing a program on power renewable energy, and we can be able to get expertise within the ecosystem, not going out there, why can't we be able to resource that within the ecosystem to build up the members who are within the ecosystem? Second, why can't we perhaps look for synergies among the various programs that are within the ecosystem propelled or implemented by various members? What is stopping us to be talking to each other and opening up ourselves? Because I don't think KCAC and Jasiri, they are competing. I mean, they're operating on a space of their own. KCAC is operating on the space of their own, but I believe there are some synergies that Jasiri and KCAC, E4I, Growth Africa, all of us in this meeting can be able to tap into from various ecosystem players within the umbrella of ASSEK. And so for me, the issue here is if we can be able to compare notes, if we can be able to open ourselves to ourselves, I'm so sure there's so much to tap. If, for example, as I said, I mean, just to give an example, KCAC have been able to fundraise the last 10 years more than $60 million and supported over 3,500 enterprises. And just to give you a couple of figures, the last 3 years, we have supported over 700 enterprises to access financing. I mean, we could be having some ecosystem partners who perhaps are struggling in terms of resource mobilization. Can we be able to share some of the knowledge that we have been able to acquire, some of the experiences? Are there opportunities we can be able to work together, 3, 4, 5 ecosystem partners, and put up a proposal and ensure that all of us are doing, are doing something in the implementation of that program? The answer is yes. Instead of us going and looking for international partners, perhaps ASSEK could be able to really support a number of ecosystem partners to come together and bid for some of this work. That can only come through once ASSEK takes the leading role in supporting all the ecosystem partners to open up themselves to other ecosystem partners within ASSEK and ensure that we are talking to each other, we are opening up ourselves, we are sharing opportunities that are coming, out of organizations, and that will really build up the ecosystem. We'll move from talking to action and ensure that perhaps in the next 2 years, ASSEK has become more than CAM. It has become more than KEPSA. Why? Because members of KEPSA, members of CAM, they are talking to each other. They know what I'm doing. They are able to provide some kind of backstopping here and there. And that means that even the ecosystem partners themselves, they are able to trade within themselves. So for me, it's opening up that space of communication, and ensuring that ecosystem partners on board the ASSEK umbrella body, they have been able to get a couple of things moving. That's my thought, Elizabeth.
Indeed, very, very strong and straightforward sentiments there. And as previously said, Norman is an island, and therefore opening up communication channels definitely enriches the experience and even how people interact. And I can see now that as we come to a close, there is a question that has been put across by Jabez to all the candidates. And the question is, what specific change or action do you intend to implement, considering the existing governance structure and mandate of ASSEK? And why is this particular change important? I'd like to start with Isaiah on this.
Good. That's a good and tough question. Now, let me first start mentioning that governance structures are always evolving. And one of the things that we must be able to do as ASSEK is to strengthen those structures. That means the formation could ideally change to suit with changing conditions. But also that also means that we must have policies and regulations that govern and the constitution that govern ASSEK as it, so that now, even as that change is coming, there is also a stability as the development goes on. But ideally, one of the things that I could be very keen on and really could be happy to see happening is that our increased use of data and automation, so that now out of that, then we are making decisions that are data-driven among the members, of course, with the regulations, with proper structure and ensuring that enough information is given for opportunity to be utilized, but at the same time, infringement is not there. So if we are able to create that kind of platform that then enables memberships to share data, share progress, share impact that is happening, share opportunities, and at the same time be able to learn from each other. It's something that can be able to build one and all. So that's one thing that I could be very happy to be engaged in and to see working in this next coming period. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Isaiah. We can move on to Dr. Rose.
All right. All right. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, what a great question. Love it. Allow me to focus on not the governance structure, but the mandate of ASSEK. So we have already said earlier on that ASSEK, as the Association of Startup and SMEs Enablers in Kenya, is an association that is bringing together and is representing the interest of organizations that are supporting the development and growth of startups and SMEs. That is the way ASSEK has expressed itself. It's a beautiful mandate. But to what extent do we know how well ASSEK has been able to do this? What is the size of its members in terms of the effect of the work that they are doing? To what extent are members reporting to ASSEK and providing data that ASSEK is then able to analyze and produce and disseminate to us as members and to others? To what extent are we known as ASSEK and members of ASSEK in terms of the significant changes that we are contributing to the ecosystem every day through supporting SMEs and startups? And this is something that I would personally like to see improved, like to see change, because it's important. It is important as we tell the story about ASSEK. It is important as we think about how to elevate ASSEK to be more influential in the ecosystem, that indeed the wealth of our collective abilities is indeed known. Felix has mentioned a number of organizations, including his and mine and all of you here in this meeting today. But do we know what our collective wealth is like? What changes are we making? How many jobs have we created in Kenya since ASSEK, or contributed to creating in Kenya since ASSEK was formed? How many lives are improved? In what ways are those lives being improved? Which industries are we focusing on well? Which industries are we not focusing on well? So I would join my colleagues in Jasiri who are passionate about ecosystem diagnostic tools. And I would say, together with ASSEK and others, we would indeed be providing those tools that will ensure we have the ecosystem data that can indeed inspire creative dialogue and influence policy interventions that are so needed to better support ESOs. We need the resources, both in cash and in kind. And if the net worth of our current and our potential contribution is not known, then we have shot ourselves in the foot. That would be the area of my focus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rose, for that as well. Felix, the stage is yours to comment on this.
So thank you. When I look back at the mission of ASSEK in terms of bringing us together and supporting, what we are doing in terms of supporting the SMEs, from where I stand, one of the key things that we need to focus on, or I focus on, given this opportunity, is to resource ASSEK. And resourcing ASSEK doesn't not only mean money, but also cutting across the three key pillars of what I spoke about. For me, resourcing ASSEK is of paramount importance to be able to become a voice in the ecosystem, to be able to become a thought leader, in all aspects of SME or entrepreneurship in this country. I'm looking forward to when ASSEK commissions a research, that can become, a topical study, that can become a reference document, not only for us, but also for people perhaps doing studies elsewhere. And that can only be actualized if, for example, we have a resourceful ASSEK. So for me, the key thing, even with the current structure, of course, is to ensure that we have a strategic plan, ensure that, a couple of things have been aligned. But all those things we are talking about, for me, resourcing ASSEK is a very, very critical angle to ensure that all the things that we're talking about, they have been aligned and executed. Otherwise, thank you very much, members, for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to the elections on Friday.
Thank you very much, Felix, and thank you very much, Dr. Rose and CPA Gishana. And this has been indeed a very informative session from our candidates. And all of us here wish you well, including Cindy Mbari, former ASSEK board member. And we would like to see you succeed in this quest. And thank you very much for making time to be with us today. And hoping to see you on the ballot on Friday. Thank you very much, and have a lovely evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.